What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Luke Cage Season 2, Episode 6, The Basement. So, some of you may be wondering, wait a minute, weren't you going to try to do 3 at a time at least, and maybe even 4, you were saying at the end of that last one? Well, normally I just have to pause and then restart the recording whenever I do this, but, yeah, it just screwed up for some reason. Can't explain it. It just paused right in the middle of that recording. It stopped recording it entirely, so yeah, that one's just going to end on a bit of a cliffhanger. Kind of like this episode. So yeah, 6 episodes in, and we're killing off our main character. No, can't believe it, right? I mean, I know I'm looking at Netflix right now, and I see a picture of him in the next episode. But yeah, I mean, he's dead. Killed him off at the end of this one. Can't believe it. Luke, you were a good, strong character. I respected you. R.I.P. Luke. Alright, anyway. So yeah, I mean, this one, it is pretty interesting to see them facing Luke and Bushmaster off about halfway through and having them fight, quote unquote, to the death. But yeah, it was just kind of a sample battle, I think, before we get near the end, which I don't know, now that we've already had them fight twice, one where Bushmaster got the upper hand starting off, and then, Luke wasn't prepared for that one. He wasn't ready. He didn't expect him to have abilities as well that matched his own. So you could say he kind of got caught off guard in that one, which is why he lost. This one, they both decided, all right, time to fight. It was kind of a mutual thing, so they did it, and Luke got the better of him. And then he brought out some little sneaky, underhanded trick that paralyzed Luke, and then kicked him off a bridge into the water. So, it's kind of one of those things. I've seen it done before, where the hero and the villain meet. It's supposed to be a fair fight, and then the villain does something to make it not a fair fight, which then puts off the fight until later in the season. So I don't know. It kind of does lessen the impact if they do end up facing in the last episode. We've already seen them fight now, so I'm curious to see how they're gonna one up this fight, because they have to, right? They can't just, oh, they're gonna face off again and it's gonna be a fair fight. No dust, no nothing this time. Right. But yeah, overall, there's some interesting elements of this episode. You got Misty. She finally goes to admit that she went to plant the evidence, and the captain's like, "Oh, okay, well, I can work with that. I'm glad you told me," because basically he just wanted her to tell the truth. Because I feel like he sort of understands where she's coming from. I think he understands her more than she thinks, because he has been kind of a hard ass this season and really strict when it comes to Luke, that type of thing. And so I think she has distrusted him because of that. But ultimately, I do think he understands her more than she knows. And so whenever she reveals this, he's like, oh, okay, thank you for finally telling the truth. Now let's get back to work. And kind of lets her know, no, you're going to have to live with this. This is on your conscience. I'm not just letting you off the hook. You're not going to be able to let yourself off the hook. But then Misty is just like, but I can't live with myself after this. So then she quits. The only problem I have with this is this comes right after a scene where Luke was talking to her on the phone, tells her about the cabs that Bushmaster has in place, and so we see her chasing down a cab. She's like, "All right, I got the license plate and I got the style of the logo or whatever." And it seems like she's gonna go do something about it, but then she turns in her badge. So I don't know if this is part of what she has planned, if there's something that she's gonna do that requires her to not be a cop, or if she just all of a sudden, after that little burst of adrenaline, is like, oh wait, I forgot, I'm depressed about trying to plant evidence and I need to go quit now. I don't know, it just seemed like a really big 180 from, I've got this, I've got the lead, I can do this, I got you, Luke, to, oh, I'm done, I quit, I can't do this anymore. So that was a little bit of a problem. I hope they explain it in the next one, but so far I am curious to see where Misty's story is going from here, because she has been through quite a roller coaster so far. On top of that, we also see Luke trying to protect, what's his name, Piranha. Still, he had a few more better scenes in this one. Still really feels like he's Kevin Hart a lot of the time. Whenever Luke is doing his thing, I did find that it can be funny when Luke is doing his thing and he knocks the guy across the room and he's like, oh shit. It was really, really funny. But outside of that, there are times whenever it just gets a little too much, and it just doesn't fit with what's going on around him. Especially when they're kidnapping him. He's like, Luke, oh my god, help me, help me. Aside from that, really not much else to talk about in this episode. Luke ends up leaving Piranha with his dad, and they do have another good scene between the two of them. His dad seems a little bit more in this one, a little bit more excited to see him, I guess. Like Luke says, "I need a favor," and he says, "Anything." Where we saw in that first episode, it seemed like he was very much like, "Oh, I'm disappointed. I'm ashamed of you, son." Blah 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 blah. So, I don't know. Maybe he softened up a little bit, but it seemed a little different than when we first saw him. So I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, and that's pretty much it for this one. So now on to the next one. See you guys there in a second. And now episode 7, On, and man, it's popping off. So yeah, a ton of stuff happens here at the end. It really, I don't know. I guess because it's the halfway point, it's like things are finally starting to pick up a little bit more, and things are getting more exciting. You know, the Stylers are starting to really just push forward. Piranha ends up dead. What's his name? Chi, I think. I don't remember. I think Comanche is his full name or something like that. Shade's friend, though, from prison. He ends up dead. The captain ends up dead. I thought for a second Mariah might be gone, too. But Luke steps in to help her out. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of stuff. I mean, the story's progressing forward very well. It feels like this is sort of where all of Bushmaster's plans have been leading to. You know, is Mariah losing business, getting her in a position to relive what happened to him and his mother in the past, where his mother was dying because of I think it was like a Molotov grenade thrown in, and she told him to run, and so he ran, and she died, and so he ends up giving Tilda the exact same chance. She sticks around, but then Luke Cage comes in to help out. So yeah, you know, it was a pretty interesting episode, though. You know, it really showed kind of the duality between Luke and Bushmaster. You know, Luke sees his mom in a flashback when he was at prison. We get to see sort of that relationship there, how much it hurt. It was the last chance that he got to see her, and even though she was deathly sick, she was still finding the strength to go see him. His father finally sort of reconciles for that, not for everything. He does sort of talk about, you know, what happened with, what's his name? I can't remember his name now. The other guy. I don't remember. Names are not my strong suit, but he does bring that up, and they don't get a chance to reconcile that before he has to go help Mariah. But they do sort of reconcile about what happened. You know, his dad blaming him for his mom's death while he was still in prison, and not going to help him, believing that he was actually guilty. They get a little bit of a chance to reconcile. So it's not completely done, but I'm glad that they had that moment, because it makes his dad feel more human. Where as in the rest of this season so far, his dad has kind of felt like a bit of a dick. So I don't know. I'm glad they gave him that moment. Aside from that, you know, we see Misty. She doesn't want to go back, but she still wants to help Luke as a vigilante. I love the scene when she and Luke were taking down that one place. The look on Luke's face when she's taking those guys on, just sitting there off to the side like, oh, yeah, okay. Maybe I should rethink the sidekick thing. Yeah, I don't know. I just loved it. There was the one line. I'm like halfway debating, was it too cheesy? Was it just cheesy enough? But Misty's like, who said anything about me being a sidekick? How do we know you're not my sidekick? He's like, well, it's my show. I get what they're going for. Haha, it's his show, as in like, it's his TV show, guys. Oh, don't you get it? I don't know. It was right on the verge of just being too cheesy. But yeah, everything else in this episode, it just really, it was exciting. It was fun to watch. At the end, Bushmaster's overcome Mariah and her entire family. Shades has to end up shooting his best friend for a long time, and possibly more when they were in prison. It feels like everything just really popped off in this episode, and I don't know, it was exciting. It didn't really have an episode like this in Jessica Jones season 2. There was no episode that made me go, oh, man, that was so good. So, yeah, really exciting. About halfway through, so really excited to see what's going to happen next and where the rest of the story is going to go, because it's a lot of season left and it feels like we're getting toward the end game. So what else can we do from here? What else can we possibly see? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are too. Now on to episode 8. See you there in a second. Now episode 8, if it ain't rough, it ain't right. So this one, once again, continues the story, and I'm loving it. I mean, it feels like things are just progressing so well, so smoothly, too. I don't know, it just feels like it's a nice flowing narrative. We see pretty much exactly what you'd expect to happen now that Bushmaster finds out that Mariah and her daughter are still alive, and of course Luke Cage is still alive. He sends people to go after him, after their loved ones as well. And so that's pretty much where most of this episode ends up. But even before that, like, we see Mariah and Shades and Tilda in the precinct. We see them being questioned. We see pretty much exactly how you'd expect them to handle it. You know, all of them don't crack. All of them keep their wits about them, except for Tilda, who does sort of tell Luke some stuff. But mainly the stuff about Bushmaster. Nothing. She doesn't know anything about, like, killing the captain or killing what's his name, Chi. So yeah, it played out exactly how I expected to. That douchey lawyer shows up. I did find it really funny, though, whenever he was in there, Shades gets a call, comes back in, and is like, I no longer represent Mr. Alvarez. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. I guess, yeah, they don't have money, so that kind of makes sense. But then, of course, he has to pop back up with Bushmaster. I'm just like, God. If there's one character I wish would just die off, it would be that lawyer. Because just, I don't know, I hate characters like him. I absolutely despise characters like him. And I think the writers know that. The writers know that he is a douchey character, and they know that most people aren't going to like them. But man, anytime I see a character like that that just walks in the room and just like, you have nothing on my client. Oh, you're wasting everybody's time. Oh, let me make jokes because you're missing an arm. I don't know. I hate any time a character like that shows up, and they typically stick around forever. So yeah, I mean, he's still around. He's working for Bushmaster now. When they go to question him, it's like, you have nothing against my client. Let me just repeat the same dialogue you always hear. There's even one point, it was hysterical to me, because he's talking to, Misty's talking to Shades at this point, and then he gets a call to leave the room, talking about, you're wasting my time once again. And then Misty just looks at Shades. She's like, don't you ever get tired of this shit? And Shades just looks back at her, don't you? And I'm sitting there thinking, is this actually in the script, or is this like the actors just for a second, like, don't you ever get tired of scenes like this? Like, it feels like we shoot this scene every single episode. Like, it feels like we have to shoot a scene with this guy every time. Just, I don't know. In my mind, that's exactly how I pictured it going down. Obviously not, but yeah, it does feel sort of like they have no other ideas. They bring Mariah in just for the lawyer to come in and spout some nonsense about they have no evidence, when they do kind of have enough probable cause to hold them. And that's, I think, where it bugs me the most, is he comes in and says you have no reason to hold them, when they really do. There's enough there. There's enough probable cause. There's enough circumstantial evidence. That's not coincidental evidence. I don't know where my brain is. I'm tired. But yeah, enough circumstantial evidence to at least hold them and possibly try to take them to trial. And every time they have that, he comes in and says, you have absolutely no evidence. You're not going to charge them, because they know it's circumstantial, but at least charge them so that they can hold them. Charge so you can hold and then investigate some more, instead of just, oh, he's right, I don't have any evidence except for that one thing, and then that's about it. There's no way we can find more evidence, and I guess if we let them go, there's no way that they'll erase evidence, right? Like, I don't know. It just bugs me. It's one of those things that it's not a huge thing. It doesn't ruin the show, but it's definitely the most annoying part of the show whenever it comes on. Aside from that, though, everything else I really enjoyed. Whenever they finally let him out, we see a nice scene between Shades and Mariah where he kind of calls her out for everything, because she is really losing herself because of everything that was stolen from her. And he just kind of has a moment with her where he's just like, look, what are you doing? I warned you about this. You're blaming me for this? You're the one that made the decision that brought us here. And so they kind of have a little bit of an argument about it, and then finally realize that they've got to overcome it together. And once again, Shades is the one that sort of pushes her down that right track. So once again, we're seeing kind of what was being said throughout most of the season. Shades is really the one that's running this operation. Even though Mariah has the backbone to do it. She has the backbone to carry it out. He's the one providing the details. He's the one providing the information to her that gets her where she's going. And it's whenever she feels like she's in the right and she doesn't listen to him, that's when the mistakes happen. So I feel like at some point that's going to come to a realization for Shays, and he's going to realize, oh, wait, I could do this all on my own. I don't need her. She's just been carrying out what I'm saying. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But as far as Bushmaster is concerned, we do see him losing his edge a little bit as well when he finds out Luke is still alive and that he helped Mariah. So, yeah, I'm curious to see where that's going. There's a little bit of a falling out between him and his uncle. He's been using that stuff that was provided to him by Tilda, but apparently it's not as good as the stuff that they have back wherever they live that gave him these abilities in the first place. So it's like the stuff is wearing off and it's making him more erratic. So I'm curious to see how that's going to affect him. It almost kind of sounds like the Black Panther stuff. Whatever is in the plants that they take to get the abilities of the Black Panther. That's kind of what it sounded like when they talked about like the herbs from the homeland. That's immediately what my mind went to, and since it's the same cinematic universe kind of, I wonder if there's any connection there. But anyway, I do know it's Nightshade that they keep talking about. Yeah, so very interesting. I think I have enough time, since I kind of went through these really quickly. I think I have enough time to watch one more and put it on the end of this one. So I will see you guys in just a second for the next one. In the last of these episodes, episode 9, For Pete's Sake. Whew. I'm really sad I gotta take a break for tonight because, man, it's getting good. Oh, okay, so talk about all of the good stuff. First of all, that scene between Mariah and Tilda was fantastic. I mean, I wasn't even saying anything. Like, I was just watching. I was just taking it in because it was just so good. You finally get an in-depth sort of look into Mariah's character, why she is the way she is. The acting on it was brilliant from both her and Tilda. Oh, I mean, there was no music. It was just quiet. And it was just, oh, it got to me. I mean, it was a really, really good scene. It's probably one of the best scenes I think the Marvel Netflix universe has had. So yeah, really, really, really good scene there. Obviously, all the stuff, the build up to the big action climax, all that stuff was pretty good. Getting to see kind of, once again, Bushmaster's really, really losing himself because he needs that herb. He needs whatever is causing him, I guess, giving him his abilities. He really needs it. And so it's like it's tearing him apart that he doesn't have it because Tilda took all the Nightshade with her. So it's pretty interesting to see him like this because we really haven't gotten a chance to see him so despondent almost. Because most of the season has just been him catching everybody by surprise, which has made him feel all cocky. And so every time we see him, it's just like, oh no, I take care of this. There's no problem for me. So getting to see, and I apologize for the terrible Jamaican accent. Don't judge. But getting to see him so like very broken down was really interesting, and it also shows, I guess, the acting chops of the guy playing Bushmaster because most of the season he's just been all like cocky and arrogant, and now we get to see a different side of him. So well done there. As far as the things that I didn't like, first of all, I realized they had to get a climax somehow. I realized they had to find some way for Bushmaster to find out where Luke Cage and Mariah and all of them are held. Did you really have to have the cliche of that woman cop seeing it all and deciding, Misty and I don't really get along. It's a lot of money. I've kind of been a bitch all season. I'll just go ahead and play the bitch again. Did you have to do that? Because honestly, it felt like over the past few episodes that they had sort of changed her a bit. Because whenever Misty came back after what happened to the captain, him passing away, and she comes in, she actually said some nice stuff. And she's like, look, you're the most experienced one here. She's like, if anybody put me in the ground, I would want you catching my body. So you could see there was a respect there. Even though she doesn't really like Misty, even though they don't get along, there is a respect for her. And so to see her just completely go, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go to this guy because I want a ton of money. it seemed like everything that they had done with her character up until this point just kind of get cut off there. I was really disappointed with that. Also disappointed with just the fact that Bushmaster gets out. It felt very similar to Kingpin in season 1 of Daredevil. Like, you catch him before the season finale, so, what are you going to do? Oh, well, maybe now Mariah, because she's on the run, maybe now she all of a sudden has all of her power back, and the rest of the season's devoted to stopping her, because now she is sort of gone off the rails. We could see in this episode, she sort of lost it. Whenever she was talking to Tilda, it seemed like she just sort of dropped all of her personage, everything that she'd done, the nice stand-up lady that she had tried to be around Tilda and around the cops to sort of make them think, oh yeah, I'm completely innocent. She dropped all of that with her there. So it kind of felt like, okay, maybe now, and she even picks up a gun and just starts wasting dudes. I'm like, yeah, now would be a good time, I think, for her to be sort of the main bad guy there. And for Luke Cage to have to take her on without just punching up a bunch of stuff, I mean, that would be interesting. Obviously, he still would get to at some point if she started sending goons after him. But you could find some way around that. Instead of just having a Bushmaster, now he has an explosive and blows up the truck, and now he's free again. It just seemed pretty cliche. It seemed like we've seen this done before. So a little disappointed there, but nothing too difficult to understand. I will say, oh my goodness, I swear it's like they know what they're doing. It's like they know exactly what they're doing with Luke Cage's dad, because it feels like they're just raising death flags left and right, especially at the end there. I'm waiting for some stray sniper shot or something to blow up near them, and Luke Cage obviously doesn't get affected by explosions, but his dad does, because they're just sitting there running through all the cliche dialogue. I feel like I feel like we can finally do this. I understand what you're saying, but I need to complete the job here. Yeah, so I'm just so proud of you, son. I love you. I really do love you. Maybe after all this is said and done, maybe you can come back to Georgia with me. I'm just like, stop it. You're begging death upon yourself. Stop. Ugh. If they end up killing him off, I'll be disappointed just because of how obvious it seems it's gonna be right now. But if not, then I'm gonna be also frustrated that they just, I guess, threatened his life so much with all of this cliche death flag dialogue. I don't know. But yeah, overall, I mean, very good episode, very interesting, very exciting. Even with its problems, it still is really, really good. And of course, it sets up for a final 4 episodes that should be fantastic, I assume. But yeah, overall, very, very excited to see how this season's going to end. Hopefully you guys are too, or if you haven't already seen it, most of you probably have. But anyway, so let me know what you think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 4 episodes? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe. Future Luke Cage reviews. What show am I watching? See you guys in the next one. Peace out.